And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Edwards versus Garmany. Step forward, please.
Security officer Gloria Edwards is suing 18-year-old student Charity Garmany for damage to her car due to an accident. Charity says she was being chased.
Miss Edwards, it is your claim that the defendant, who you don't know, hit your car. Her car was traveling in reverse.
Yes.
Miss Garmany says, well, it's true she was traveling in reverse, but it was really both your faults. So tell me about it. When did it happen and where?
Okay, it happened April the 22nd on North Houston Street around 7:45.
Where were you going?
I was on my way to the grocery store.
Tell me what happened.
Okay, I was traveling south on North Houston Street.
Which is your car?
Car number 2 is my car. And about 500 feet from me was car number 1, which was her car. All of a sudden, I see her reverse lights come on. And I swerved to the right of the road, tried to get out of her way. And
when you say you saw her reverse lights go on, did she start to travel in reverse?
Yes. It was like at full speed because I had just turned onto this street and I was doing maybe 15 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, I just saw her reverse light come on, so I was trying to get out of her way.
So you moved to try to get out of the way,
right?
And she hit you,
right,
on the side of your car,
right?
Okay. I assume she got out of the car.
Well, I got out of my car. I got out and walked around, and I asked her what was going on, and she said this girl was beating on the hood of her car. And I told her, I said, well, look at the damage that you've done to my vehicle and your vehicle. It's going to cost more to have mine and yours fixed than it is for a fist dent that somebody put on yours.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gloria Edwards says her car was damaged when Charity Garmany hit her while driving in reverse. Charity says she was being chased by another vehicle.
Okay, now I'll hear from you.
Okay, I was driving. Me and my friends were driving down the street. Was going to get off the road. Was leaving to go across the railroad tracks. And I was coming forward.
And what?
I was coming forward, going off the street. I'm right here.
You were going forward?
Yes, to go across the street, to go across the railroad tracks. That's when Nikki and Aaron pulled their car in front of mine to block me in.
Nikki and Aaron are people that you know?
I know them, but I don't know them personally. I know them by name.
But you knew them?
Yes.
So they blocked your car?
Yes. Then Marcus pulls from this street right here, completely blocks me in from going forward.
Now, Mr. is car number D?
Yes.
Did you know Mr.
Yes.
Had you had any trouble with him?
No.
So he's blocking your car?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So she gets out of the car and starts beating on the hood of my car, telling me to get out.
The girl who was in car number C?
Yes, which is Nikki.
And you never had any words with Nikki? You didn't know why? No, come on.
She had attempted to pull us over before.
Why?
I guess she wanted to fight. Still to this day, I'm not quite sure why.
Why would she want to fight with you if you only knew her by name?
Because my witness, she doesn't like her.
All right, so you had somebody in your car that she didn't like?
Mm-hmm. My witness.
And that's what this is all about?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So she gets out of the car and starts hitting the hood of my car, telling me to get out, that she's going to kick our ass.
Were you frightened?
Not frightened. I just didn't want to fight. I saw an appointment.
Well, were you frightened when Mr. pulled his car up and you were totally blocked in?
Yes, I couldn't go forwards.
So you were very frightened. Were you frightened?
Well, yes, but I mean, because I couldn't go forward. So she gets out of the car, telling me she's going to kick my... I can't go forwards. So I looked in my rearview mirror. I put my car in reverse. Maybe 5 miles an hour. It was slow enough. She was still beating on the hood of my car, telling me to get out.
Who was she?
Nikki.
Who was Nikki? You're pointing to Nikki.
Her witness.
You're Nikki.
I'm Nikki.
Oh, stand up here, young lady. Do you know the plaintiff? Did you know her before this incident happened?
No.
Well, what's all this about with getting out of your car and blocking her car?
I've never blocked her car, and I mean, I was standing on the depot corner. Me and some of my friends were standing on the depot corner, just talking, hanging out, and these girls kept riding by all day, screaming and cussing at us.
That's not true. We just got there.
Telling us they were going to beat us up, and I mean, just acting silly, shooting us birds. And then finally, they kept riding by, and me and my friend Erin, the girl I was with, we were fixing to leave, and they come down the road, and so I was trying to stop them. And
How were you trying to stop them?
I was yelling at them, trying to stop them. I never touched their car. They were never blocked in. Nobody ever pulled out in front of them or anything. They were never blocked in.
Sit down. Nikki, there's a reason she went into reverse. She didn't all of a sudden have a lapse in her mind, and instead of going forward, She decided, well, I'm going to ride backwards. People don't do that. So she was clearly frightened about something. Nikki, go ahead.
So I proceeded to reverse.
You went into reverse because
Yes.
you were frightened and you wanted to get away from them.
Yes.
And you hit her car.
No, she hit me. I was reversing.
No. Your car number A, right?
Yes.
You
she
hit
did
her.
not proceed to slow down. She instead speeded up. She even said to the police officer that she speeded up. She saw my reverse lights on. She
And she
speeded
tried
up.
to get out of the way. Look at the way her car is. Miss.
When you see a reverse
Miss.
lights on, you
Miss.
usually reverse.
No, you don't. You try to get out of the way.
You reverse. I was not that close to her. She sped up to go around me.
She tried to get out of the way. Look at where the damage is. Look, miss. Look at your photograph. Look at it. That is a photograph of somebody who's trying to get away from you. Going that way, trying to get away from you because you're going backwards. If she sped up, she would have hit you straight on. She's trying to get away from you. Duh. Okay. The lesser of the two estimates that you have is 2616.
Yes.
You have a photograph of the damage?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Did you have damage to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you sue Nikki?
I tried to file a harassment warrant on her, and
I'm not talking about a harassment warrant. I'm talking about you say that she caused the damage to your car. Did you sue her?
no, not yet.
What are you looking at her for?
I thought she said something.
No, she doesn't look like she's going to say a word. You say that this young lady and her friends caused this accident.
Yes, they did.
Well, why wouldn't you sue them?
I just graduated out of high school. I haven't had time yet. I'm going to the I'm in the process.
Well, meanwhile, you take care of the plaintiff's damage. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,616.83. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was all set up. She did not proceed to slow down. Instead she speeded up and hit me.
I tried to get out of her way.
Her witness has tried to pull me over before.
I don't know anything about the altercation that this young lady had with those girls.
And then later on we got fought. She cut me with a razor on my arm.
There was never a fight between us. You must be mistaken.
I could not go forward. I had to go in reverse.
I don't have time for child's play, so I don't know anything about what problems they had.
Contractor Stephen Bruno is suing his ex-fiancée, executive assistant Kathy Ross, for an unpaid loan for a truck and for the cost of an outside deck. Kathy is countersuing for the return of belongings, for medical bills resulting from an accident, and for the cost to bring the unfinished deck.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You used to be in love, you're not in love anymore. So now we're here, is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So, Mr. Bruno, you say that Miss Ross, who used to be your love, owes you for two things. First, a loan for materials that you purchased to do a deck in her house.
Right.
Deck was falling apart. You're in that business. You said, I'll do a deck. According to you, you said, you pay for the materials, I'll do the labor as a labor of love. And the second loan is for a truck, $2,500, and you say that both of these things, repayment was promised by Miss Ross for both of these things. Miss Ross says, baloney. Miss Ross has some counterclaims. She was at your house one day, according to her, and she fell down a flight of stairs. You were still dating after that.
Yes.
Is that right? But you decided you might as well sue him for that. Now,
Well,
Right.
my feeling was that it was ridiculous that it got to this point anyway. So if we were going to,
if we were going
If he
to
was
dredge
going-
up old trash, we might as well get all the old trash
Exactly.
up. That's what we are. We are receptacles for trashy lawsuits. Not. Because if you fell down the flight of stairs at his house and you hurt yourself, you should have proceeded against his homeowners at the time. If you chose not to do that, don't bother me with it. The next thing that you're suing him for on the counterclaim, because I'm whittling down this lawsuit. We're going to get to whittling down yours in a second.
no problem.
Oh, I'm glad you feel that way. The next thing that you're suing him for is you say that he started work on this deck of yours and he left it halfway and you want him to pay to have it finished.
Correct.
Unlikely, but a possibility. Third thing is you say he has some property of yours. Skis, what else?
He has all of my ski equipment.
Do you have her ski equipment?
No, I don't.
Where is it?
To my knowledge, it's in her basement.
You don't have it.
No, I have my daughters and my own.
Doesn't have it. Next.
He has a phone of mine, cordless
What kind of phone?
Cordless phone.
How did he get a cordless phone of yours?
One of his phones was not working properly, and we were going to get married, and he was talking about going and getting another phone, and I said, well, let's just put that in your basement. That's
Great, perfect. So you gave him a phone. So what else?
a cookbook and some kitchen utensils.
How
that
did
I
he
took
get
over there.
those?
Was over at his house cooking a lot, and they were left items that I had not taken back home.
That you left there. Items that you left there.
Right. I never thought it would get to this.
It didn't. So with the exception of, I'll let you tell me the story about the deck. Forget about everything else. Okay, Mr. Bruno, tell me about the deck, the materials that you purchased, sir. Tell me where you were with her when you decided that you were going to fix this deck.
I was on my phone. We were discussing it.
Oh, tell me what the discussion was.
It was Mother's Day a couple days before, and she has some puppies that were getting ready to be sold, and she was worried about the safety of people coming to view the deck or view the puppies, and didn't want them walking on the deck, so she was trying to figure out another route for them to go. And as a Mother's Day gift, I said, well, I'd take care of the deck so that she could have it sold, or not sold, but sell the puppies without worrying about people walking on it.
Great.
Just reimburse me when the puppies are sold, or if you refinance your house. I would charge you no labor. That was my Mother's Day gift. Plus, I took her to dinner.
All right, now let me hear what the phone call was like, Ms. Ross.
He called me the morning of Mother's Day, and he said, I've decided what I want to do for you for Mother's Day. He said, I want to rebuild your deck. And I'm like, well, that's not something that I can afford to do at this point. Well, you know, this is something I want to do for you. You never let me do anything for you. I'm concerned about your safety on the deck. You're going to have people coming over to look at the puppies. Okay. He says, okay, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to pick up the materials, and I'll be over.
Now tell me about the truck.
Oh, I had been looking for a truck. I knew that once I sold the litter of puppies, that I would have the down payment for the truck. And I had been looking at different trucks, and he's saying, why don't you get that when you like it? And I'm like, no, because I don't have my down payment yet. So I think one truck slipped away from me twice at two different locations. I went and I looked at another truck. He came with me. I liked the truck. He's like, you should just get the truck. I'll just give you the money. He said, your birthday's coming up in September. And
when were the puppies sold?
The last puppy wasn't sold until the first week in August.
What kind of puppies were they?
Labrador retrievers.
How much did you get for the litter?
They sold for different amounts. The highest puppy being sold for $425. The majority of them were sold for $300.
How many puppies were there in the litter?
There ended up being 8.
So there's your $2,500, right? So you'd have had the money for your down payment.
Correct.
When did the two of you break up?
A day before Father's Day.
In June?
Yes, the 15th.
Okay, and when did you give her the $2,500?
May 25th.
So you give him back his $2,500, Miss Ross, because that's the right thing to do. So,
Your Honor.
Yeah.
I have a police report of when he came over to my house demanding back the engagement ring and all of this money that I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll give you the money. He comes in my house, he starts throwing things, so I had to call the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's an exceptionally high bid if she's just going to put it up to code, which in that case would be a handrail.
Then you should have finished it,
I would have loved to.
but you didn't.
And later today,
He only used electrical tape and wired 3 wires together, and it caught on fire.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It's true.
That is not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Ring?
Yes.
Why did he have to come over to your house for the ring?
I have no idea why it even got to that in the first
Well,
place.
why don't you tell me, sir?
She wouldn't bring it back over, and when I did show up, she'd tell me, get the hell off her property, or what the hell was I doing there? And I told her I wanted the ring back and the money that I'd loaned her, and then I was out of there. And I didn't throw things, Your Honor. I threw a cell phone, which was mine, and that was all I threw.
All right, you lost your temper. That's not the right thing to do.
No, ma'am,
But
it
he gets his $2,500 back. Let me see pictures of the deck. Okay. Sort of left this job in the middle, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I loaned her the money for the truck, and I didn't have the money to finish the deck.
So what you're saying to me is you loaned her the money for the truck, and because you loaned her the money for the truck, you didn't have enough money for the materials for the rest of the deck.
In part.
You understand where I'm going, Mr. Bruno. That's what the problem is. You're trying to anticipate where I'm going. You took a house that looked okay. Now, it may not have been okay, but it looked okay.
It was an unsafe.
And it doesn't look okay now.
It's better than what it was, ma'am.
No, it wasn't. No.
Yes.
No.
People would
This is
step.
before,
They stepped through that
and this
deck.
is after. There's no railing. There's no guard railing.
No,
Is that right?
That's right.
And there's not even a full floor.
Right.
I got it. Can I see the cheapest estimate that you got to finish this deck? I think you say in your counterclaim that it was $1,800. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, this estimate is $1,200 to $1,400.
Right, and there's the other one is for $3,200, and I don't know why the difference in the two is
I
so
don't know
large.
either.
And that's not to restore the deck back to the condition it was in. That's just to put up a hand railing and stairs from
And it says
the
to
porch in.
bring the deck up to code.
Yes, ma'am, but it's
Okay.
not, I would not be able to use that deck the same way that I was using the other deck. I have no way to get from one part of my yard to the other.
I'm going to take the highest of this estimate, which is $1,200 to $1,400, because I think you're responsible for at least giving her some semblance of a deck back in her house.
Well,
You
if
can't
I-
just walk away from a gift. You started this, you have to finish it. And if you're not going to go to her house, and I can understand and finish it, somebody's going to have to. So she owes you $2,500 for the truck. From that, I'm deducting $1,400 for the deck. She owes you $1,100 for the truck.
Your Honor, in regards to that, that's an exceptionally high bid if she's just going to put it up to code, which in that case would be a handrail at $2 a foot.
Then you should have finished it,
I would have loved to.
but you didn't. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100, which is the difference between fixing the deck and the $2,500 she owes you for the truck. That's all.
Why does that excuse? You may step out.
She had conflicts with my family and didn't want to deal with it.
I didn't want to be like the rest of the in-laws and feel like I was shoved to the outside of that main core.
I think it was a little unfair because I know she wasn't telling the truth. We had an agreement prior to all this, but judge ruling is judge ruling.
School teacher Sherry King is suing her ex-boyfriend, bartender Keith Collier, for damage to her car and a series of unpaid loans.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of King versus Collier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
And it was your former boyfriend. First, you say about a little more than a year ago, he had an accident with your car, which you paid for, which he said he would take care of. Then you claim to have expended a certain amount of money for remodeling of a condo that he had purchased, also with the agreement that he would pay you back. When you broke up, somehow you got him to sign a promissory note for all this money, or I think $3,200. Mr. Collier says the following. He said that you caused the accident to the car yourself, that he never borrowed any money from you, that the remodeling that you did to the condo, which had belonged to his uncle, was your own choice. The only reason he says that he signed this promissory note was that you were holding some money of his that you had gotten your hands on. You told me you wouldn't give him the money unless he signed the note. So he signed the note under duress. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was this accident with the car?
It was back in July of 2001.
And tell me about the accident with the car.
We were leaving a parking garage in Ybor City, and we were looking for the ticket that you give the attendant whenever you leave, and we couldn't find it, and we had pulled in already, so he went to back up, and as he backed up, he tore the whole bumper off the front of the car.
So it's the bumper that you're talking about?
Correct.
You remember that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember it that way, though.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay. So do you have insurance?
Yes.
So did the insurance cover the damage?
No, my deductible was $500, and it only cost $335.
Okay. Did you agree to pay that?
I never agreed to pay that, Your Honor.
So give me your version of the events. You're driving, the bumper comes off the car. How did the bumper come off the car?
I actually wasn't driving. We had gone to the
You
parking
just told me you were driving.
Oh, I was in the driver's seat. We had just backed out of the parking garage spot that I was in, that she had parked in. And
Yeah.
the angle that I pulled back, that, having no idea how she had left the wheel cocked, it caught on the edge of the wall and it ripped her bumper off.
The wall didn't move, sir. The car moved.
I agree, Your Honor.
Good. Okay. So that's $335. Did you ever say that you would pay to have that bumper repaired?
No, Your Honor. The reason I agreed or told her I wouldn't pay her back for that is the fact
Would
that
or would not?
would not. Is because she was drunk. Too drunk to drive, asked me to drive, handed me the keys, and that's the only reason I was driving. I was trying to do her a favor.
Is it true that you gave him the keys to the car because you had been drinking?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Don't drink. What's next?
I had loaned him, actually first he started living with me and he agreed that he would pay a third of the rent and a third of the utility bills.
For how many months?
Just for 1 month.
And what's the rent?
It was $800 and we divided it and he would have paid $266 for the rent and it was $74 for a third of the utility bills. And he also borrowed money to pay his car payments and he borrowed money to pay his cell phone bill.
What was his car payment?
I don't have that written down exactly.
$158.73, Your Honor.
And I paid it quite a few times. And I probably have paid it more times than I had even.
I can't keep track of that. What kind of a way is that to have a loan, madam?
Because I was dating him, and that's things that you do.
And then finally, we have the stuff for the apartment. Let's hear about the stuff for the apartment.
It was for a condo that his uncle owned, and we had agreed that he would move in. I was still living with my roommate, so I couldn't move out at the time. And I said that we agreed that whenever time came that my lease would be up, that I would buy the place from his uncle, and that's why I would do the remodeling, and that he would also pay for that.
That you would buy the place from his uncle? Mm-hmm. You?
Yes, later.
You, not the two of you, you would buy the place for his uncle, so you were going to remodel it for when you bought it?
Correct.
Had you discussed that with his uncle?
No.
Just with him?
Just with him.
Well, what made you think his uncle wanted to sell it?
He discussed him buying it from his uncle.
He owned or leased it to me, Your Honor. So he was selling it to me.
And you discussed selling it to her?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, yes.
And that's why she decided to remodel it. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
And then you decided not to sell it to her. Is that right?
No, she left, Your Honor.
Or she left. Whatever. Listen, I'm telling you this, Miss King. I'm unimpressed with all of these loans that you claim. Without a promissory note, the one that you say you have,
yes, I do, Your Honor.
You wouldn't get any money. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you remodel this place in anticipation of you purchasing it, so you were really remodeling it for yourself, there was no loan to him of that money. You remodeled it because you were going to live there. That was your foolishness. You don't remodel a place until the title of it is in your name.
Correct.
You want to do it fast? You do it fast, that's your problem. So now I'm going to take a look at the promissory note. Okay, so I have a promissory note for $3,200, sir, that you signed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, let me hear the circumstances surrounding you signing this promissory note.
She left on the 4th, and when she left, she had some cash in my
4th of?
March. When she did so, she didn't realize, I think, that she had some cash with her that I needed for my mortgage payment due on the 7th.
Mortgage for what?
To my uncle.
You mean your rent?
Well, he's taking it off the principal, so he's holding a note for me. But the mortgage payment was due on the 7th, and on the 4th she left with my cash. I couldn't raise the $350.
How did she get your cash?
I was having her hold it for me. I think we were going to deposit it in the bank.
But you speak slowly, sir. I can't follow you. I'm old.
Yes, Your Honor. She had my cash with her because she was holding it for me so that I would not spend it.
How much cash was she holding?
$350.
Okay, go ahead.
And on the 8th, a day after my mortgage was late, she agreed to go ahead and give me the cash, but only if I would sign the promissory note. Since I know their means of getting the cash that quickly, I went ahead and signed the note.
Did you have his money?
Yes, Your Honor. He had been staying at my place and left it.
And so you took the money and said you want your money back? Is that right?
Well, it was in my...
No, you want your money back? You're going to sign this note?
Correct, Your Honor.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
That's duress. You can't do that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today...
She wanted you to get out of the car?
Yes, that way she could fight me. She grabbed my windshield wiper. She smashed it because she was really mad and broke it. And then with her both fists, she was really pissed, won't dent my car.
Real cases, real people.
As I said to you before, Miss King, but for the promissory note, I would find that there was never a loan made. With regard to the automobile, you were drunk, which is the reason he drove. He's backing out of a spot, not purposefully.
He wasn't backing out of a spot. He was backing out of the actual toll booth that he had pulled into. I did not pull into there, Your Honor.
Whatever it was. But for the fact that the two of you had broken up, there's not a question in my mind that we would not be here over this bumper damage to the car. When you drive a car, you drive someplace, you go out, you're not supposed to get drunk so you can't drive at home. Okay? I don't know how much he had been drinking that evening, whether he had been drinking more than you or less than you. I assume that he had been drinking some too, which means that you're both stupid. Then we come to the bills. bills that you say, well, he said he would pay me some rent, and then I paid for his car payment. I paid a lot of times. I paid his car payment more than once. I'm not sure about how many times. I don't get involved with that. This is a court. You're supposed to say, on September 1st, 1999, I paid a car payment. On September 16th, the year 2000, I made a car payment for him. I have that all written down here. This is his car payment. He asked me to please advance it, and if I would, he would pay me back in a month. That's not what this is all about. This is about a boyfriend and girlfriend situation where you give him money. I don't know whether he ever gave you money.
No, Your Honor.
Probably not. Well, that means that you're not too... The only thing that you thought that you did that was clever was having him do the promissory note for all this money that you thought he owed you. The only problem is you forced him to sign it. You were withholding his property. And if you withheld his property and said, unless you sign this note, I'm not going to give you the property, that is duress. So you get zippo, nada, nothing. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just hopefully no one will ever have to deal with him the way I had to deal with him.
I'm glad to see that justice was served.
Because he's a loser and he will scam anyone out of anything.
I feel bad that Ms. King feels like she was ripped off and misled by me.
Every week he would say that he would pay me the money, and then he would say, oh, I spent it on this or I spent it on that, and never came through with it.
I'm sorry that I had to come to a court battle. She could have settled it outside very easily.
Don't give money to anyone unless you have anything signed, and don't deal with idiot con artists like that.
Worked out pretty well for me, didn't it?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Shia Marinas, step forward, please.
Nurse Beatriz Shia is suing her neighbors, 16-year-old Scott Marinas and his father, Michael. Beatriz says Scott shot her window with a BB gun.
Miss Shia, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes, we are.
And it is your claim that this young man, I assume this young man,
Yes.
his son, was playing with a BB gun and shot out some of the windows in your house and sliding doors. Mr. Marinas says that's not possible because the range of this BB gun is such that it could not have caused the damage. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
When did this happen, Ms. Shia?
October 16th. I was asleep. I work nights, and I heard almost like an explosion. But I was asleep, so I was thinking, you know, I was dreaming.
What time of the day?
It was about 4:35 in the afternoon.
Okay. Fine.
And a few minutes later, my son came in and told me that our window had been broken. So I got up, went to the backyard, and we have a slide next to our fence. And I climbed up on the slide and looked to the field. There's a field behind our house. And I didn't see anybody. The next day, about the same time, my son came out again and said that he had heard the same kind of sound, which was like a pumping sound right before.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Andrew?
Andrew, tell me what you heard on the 16th and the 17th.
On the 16th, I heard, like, before I was playing with my dog, and I heard like a quick pumping noise, but I didn't pay no attention to it. And 17th, I heard the same noise, and I ran and told my mom that.
When you heard the noise, did you see anything in your house?
I heard like a little like crackling noise, and then I looked at the sliding door, and it started to like crack and shatter.
And when was this, on the 16th or the 17th?
On the 16th.
And what about on the 17th?
On the 17th, I heard the same noise of the pumping, and then I ran to my mom and I told her, and we woke up and looked through the fence.
Was there any damage done to your house on the 17th?
Yes, we had a sliding door break, and also after I had turned in the papers to the court, I was putting up my blinds to the bathroom window, and I noticed that window had also had a little hole.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We do have a witness, but
a witness that will tell me what?
That was with him the day it happened.
Oh, I'd like to hear that witness.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Beatriz Shia says neighbor, 16-year-old Scott Marinas, shot out her windows with a BB gun. Scott says that's impossible.
You have pictures?
I have a picture of our backyard showing their house.
I'd like to see that.
And I have a picture of we had already cleaned up the glass when we took this picture.
Okay.
But also on the 16th, Scott admitted to me that he was shooting in the field, that he had bottles and he was shooting at the bottles towards our house.
Is that right,
That's
Scott?
not true. No, it isn't.
Were you shooting your BB gun on the 16th and 17th?
On the 16th I was, and on the 17th I was. I was in my backyard.
What time?
About 4:30.
Did you see anybody else out there with a BB gun?
No, I didn't. But very often there are kids in our backyard.
No, but that time, on the 16th and 17th, between 4:30 and 5, there were no other children out there playing with BB guns.
No.
Is that right?
That's right.
And you weren't at home at that time, is that right?
No, I was not.
Huh.
On the,
then by
on the
press,
16th
I'm
he was.
speaking.
Oh,
On the 16th, I was home
What time?
from 3:30 on.
What were you doing?
I stay in the house or work in the garage, and he goes outside. Where I understand this, you're not supposed to play with guns in a residential area, and I have pictures here to show that we don't live in a residential area. My home is backed up against the National Forest. I have no neighbors behind me.
At between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon on 2 separate days, the plaintiff had windows or glass shattered in her house. At that same period of time, your son was out playing with his BB guns. He acknowledges that he was out playing with his BB guns. Now, there is a possibility that some other young person, some other older person, some flying bird caused the damage to her windows. There is a possibility of that. This is a civil proceeding, however. And in a civil proceeding, I have to make a determination that there is more evidence than not that your son caused the damage to her house. And to me, it is too coincidental that at the time that her windows were shattered, your son was playing with his BB gun, and you are her neighbor. Your son, shh. Does it look like you're losing? No, speak not. So what your son should not be doing is playing with a BB gun. Anyway, because just as easily as her windows got shattered, some 4 or 5-year-old can be playing outside and lose an eye, lose hearing. I mean, I don't see what the necessity is of having a BB gun to begin with. I don't understand why he's not inside, practicing the violin, why you think that it's important for him to have a gun to begin with. It's not important. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
It's stupid. Now, do you have anything else you want to tell me?
No, except for we do have a witness, but
a witness that will tell me what?
That was with him the day it happened.
Oh, I'd like to hear that witness.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Jeffrey, were you playing outside on either the 16th or the 17th of October of this year with Scott?
Yes. The day I went over there, he had the BB gun out.
Was he shooting the BB gun?
Yes.
Did you hear anything break?
No.
Did this lady come to the house?
Yes.
Your Honor, actually, I didn't know anything about Jeffrey until his father is the one that mentioned to me that if it wasn't for Jeffrey's fault that, Jeffrey asked Scott to take out the gun, I never would have known that Jeffrey was even involved. So after I talked to his father, and his father said, no, you have no proof that my son did it, you have no witnesses, he actually gave me the witness. And then, that's when I talked to Jeffrey.
Okay.
And asked him what happened.
I'm glad that you came. It was important that you come and always tell the truth. Testimony wasn't necessary. I have to find that there's more evidence than not that you caused the damage to her house, and I find that that's true. You didn't have to play with guns. Guns are for people who can't use their words. If you can use your words, you don't need a gun. Get smart. Use your brains. The other thing is stupid. Now let me see what the damage was done. You had 2 windows broken. Is that right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey, did you learn a good lesson?
Yes.
What's the lesson you learned?
Do not play with guns where you can get someone hurt.
How about just not playing with guns, period? Right?
Yes.
That be smarter? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,429. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
she came over to my house and just said, I think your son shot out my window. Give me $1,000.
I was upset that day, and I was yelling at Scott.
There's always kids up there shooting.
He had told me that he was shooting towards my house. Everything that he said to me, he's denying. He's denying that he even told me that he was shooting towards my house, and he had told me that he was shooting towards my house.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Knox. Step forward, please.
College professor Daniel Brown is suing his former student, 22-year-old Rebecca Knox, for a class trip to Europe.
Do you have a PhD?
No, ma'am.
So you are Mr. Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brown, you are a professor?
Yes.
At the college level?
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant was a student of yours?
Correct.
According to you, you made a loan to her in order to enable her to accompany you last year, along with some other students, on a trip to Europe.
Yes.
And she has not paid you back.
Correct.
Ms. Knox acknowledges that you gave her the money for the trip. She said there was never any agreement to pay you back, and it was a gift.
Totally untrue.
Just a minute. Is that your defense? Correct. You acknowledge that he gave you this money?
Correct.
When did he give it to you?
I believe it was in February of 2002.
I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding him giving you this money.
As he had said, he takes a group of students each semester across the seas to different locations in Europe.
Okay, how many students does he take?
It depends on how many are actually interested in going.
How many were interested going on the trip that you went on?
We had 5 girls and 1 boy, so there were 6 of us.
Okay, so tell me what happened in February.
I had actually expressed interest in going. The trip was...
What do you mean you expressed interest? What does that mean?
The trip was to Ireland, England, and Scotland, and I've always wanted to travel. I'm a history major, and England is actually my basis of what my emphasis is going to be. And so I went to his office, and I just asked for a little bit more information about the trip, and I got brochures and the cost and the itinerary, and I took the information home. I looked over it, looked at the money. It was a little bit out of my reach. I didn't have the money saved up quite yet.
How much was the money?
$2,500.
Go ahead.
And
you say you didn't have it saved up yet. Were you saving for it?
I knew he took people on trips, so I had saved up just a little bit of money.
How much did you save?
It was about $300. I didn't know the full cost.
How long was this trip?
It was originally supposed to be for 17 days, and then it got shortened to 11 days.
Okay, well, you didn't think the $300 was going to take you for 11 days?
No, not at all.
Good. So you got the brochures, you looked at it, and you saw that that you didn't have enough money.
Right. So I went to my bank to see if I could actually apply for a loan, and they said that they probably wouldn't be able to give me a loan. And so I went back and talked to Mr. Brown about it, and he had...
Well, what do you mean you went back and talked to him about it?
I just talked to him about the trip and said that it was...
You went to his office?
Correct.
So you went to his office, and you said what to him?
And I told him that I'd look into other ways of financing it, as to loans and things like that, and he had mentioned that he might be able to give me the money. And I was, oh, okay, well, that was nice. Thank you. And the next day at class, he handed me a check for $2,500.
And what did you say?
I said, thank you.
Good. Now I'll hear your version of the story, Mr. Brown.
Your Honor, a great deal of what she says is true. The one emphatic word I would leave out would be give. I made it very clear to Ms. Knox it would be a loan. And
tell me what she said to you when she came to your office.
She said she'd like to go. And but she did not. She said she was investigating perhaps going to a bank, perhaps to get a loan. And I happen to know a colleague who also had Miss Knox in class, and I had been made aware there had been a bit of a tragedy in the home. And
in her home?
Well, my understanding is her sister had been killed in an accident. So, kind of, tugged the heartstrings. And so I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Start making payments once you get back. And I'll forward you the money, because I knew she wanted to go to England and she was very interested, and she'd been a good student. So I said, I'll help invest. In the only regard is I need to get the payments within a certain amount of time when you come back. I have children that are in school and I pay tuition. And she agreed. And Your Honor, if I could, I have the check, February 9th. And on the memo, it says personal loan, L-O-A-N.
Mr. Brown, it's a very easy case. I believe you. I don't believe you. Period. End of discussion. I don't see any reason why this man who took 5 people and you on a tour would say to you, I'm going to give you the money. I don't see it. Do you?
I guess not.
I guess not either. So if it doesn't sound right, if it doesn't have the ring of truth to it, it's usually not the truth. How much did you give her, which was a loan, sir?
$2,500.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was a bit of an ordeal to try and get to find Miss Knox.
I just didn't believe I owed him the money.
It was a bad lesson to learn, and unfortunately, I
Francis, take you on a cruise and say to you it's a gift.
Because I was ill.
Technician Philip White is suing his neighbor, electrician Cesar Vargas, for shooting his Rottweiler named Bones. Cesar says Bones was in his front yard threatening his daughter.
Order. All rise. This is case number 192 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Vargas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Mr. White, according to your complaint, sir, the defendant is a neighbor of yours.
Yes.
And he shot your dog.
Yes, he did.
Shh. The dog survived.
Yes.
And still have the dog, but you had a lot of vet bills.
Right.
And you wanted him also to pay for the psychological damage that was caused to you and your family as a result of this shooting.
Yes.
Where was your dog when he shot the dog?
My dog was in his front yard when he was shot.
And where were you?
I was out of town. I was on vacation.
And who was with the dog at the time that he shot the dog that was in his front yard?
No, when the dog had gotten out of the backyard to the fence.
And what kind of little dog was this?
He's not a little dog. He's a Rottweiler.
A Rottweiler?
Yes.
And the Rottweiler, I mean, I know a little bit about dogs. A Rottweiler weighs several hundred pounds.
Yes.
Right?
Right, 100, yes.
Well, what was your dog doing in his front yard?
I'm not sure what he was doing, but he was just cutting through, I believe, heading back down the street like he does occasionally.
That's outrageous, sir. What is your 100 and some odd pound dog doing out unattended by a member of your family who's able to control the dog? What if somebody's afraid of dogs?
Well, the dog, it's just kind of difficult to keep the dog in the yard sometimes, but when the dog does get out.
Never! It's never too hard to keep a big dog in your own property. In the house, in the yard, fenced in, tied up, or at all times under your control. I read this and it sounded to me as if you're the victim. You're not the victim. Your dog is the victim of your negligence. Is this your wife?
No, it's my neighbor.
Who else lives in your home?
No one.
Just you?
Yes.
When you went out that day, where did you leave your dog?
In the house.
Well, then how'd the dog get out of the house?
Well, I had a carpenter there working on the house who had gone out to get some wood. The dog had come outside to go to the bathroom. He'd carried the wood back into the house and then heard the shot.
This is what your carpenter is telling you.
Yes, this is what I
But
was
your dog's gotten out before.
Yes, he has.
Right. Well, that's what I gathered. And you're here as a neighbor to tell me it's a sweet, loving, friendly dog that you're not afraid of. Is that right?
Correct.
I don't care. Some little 5-year-old might be afraid of a 150-pound Rottweiler that comes walking up to them, even if it's the friendliest dog in town. So, that being the case, let me get to Mr. Vargas over here. Mr. Vargas, I gather that initially you denied that you shot the dog, but then you said to him, yeah, I shot your dog. Your dog was in my front yard, and my child was out there. Was your child outside?
Yes, she was.
How old is your child?
She's 13.
This your child?
Yes.
You have a picture of the dog?
Yes, I do.
Sure, let me see it. Looks like an absolutely lovely, lovely dog. For you to keep in your house, under your control, not to think it's just such a wonderful dog, everybody's going to love it.
Well, I don't feel it that way. I know the dog looks like it could be, very dangerous, but he's not by any means. As a matter of fact, my neighbors all know the dog very well because, like I said, the dog's kind of he's been raised around humans. He's never been with other dogs. He thinks he's human himself. Everybody comes over, he meets him at the front door to be petted. He's a loving dog. All the neighbors love him, of course. Like I said, he's never had any incident before where he's caused any damage to anyone or even threatened anyone.
Listen, Mr. White, this dog is doing what this dog has been trained to do, which is he's a block dog. He feels as if he has sort of control to go outside if he wants to. People adore him. They may give him a treat. Your neighbor adores him, which is all very nice. But this is a very large animal. This isn't a Chihuahua that can't cause substantial damage. If somebody is walking in a baby carriage and for some reason this dog gets spooked by something, and even if the dog doesn't go over and try to hurt them, they can start running, the baby carriage can tip over, the baby can become injured through no fault of the dog's. Through your fault.
Well,
that's your fault.
But isn't that the reason to have dog pounds and a dog catcher in case your dog does get out, or a dog registry for lost dogs?
What if you think that this dog, because you don't know the dog, all you see is this huge dog on your lawn.
Well, wait a second.
Your daughter is screaming outside. Is that what was happening? Step up. Now you tell me. What happened when you saw the dog?
When I saw the dog, it was barking at me and showing its teeth, like in an angry way.
Were you frightened?
Yes.
Where were you standing?
In my driveway.
And where was the dog?
At the end of the driveway.
And what happened next?
I called my dad's name and he had gone and get his gun and he took care of it.
And he shot the dog? Didn't kill it? No.
Right.
That's what pounds are for.
Well, like I said,
Go ahead. I'm listening to you.
Say I was inside the house. I was looking out our bay window and looked across the street. They were outside.
Who's they?
Caesar, the kids, the whole
Kids?
family. Right.
Yes?
Didn't see the dog. All I seen was him standing at his garage. Two sounds that sounded like a shotgun, but it was getting close to 4th of July, so I thought maybe it was firecrackers. Ran back to the back door and opened up the garage door, and that's when I seen the puffs of smoke coming from his garage. But like I said, I did not know at that point in time the dog had been shot.
Just a minute. So you saw his daughter outside?
Yes, but the dog wasn't barking and they weren't screaming.
Listen, how long have you been neighbors?
3 years.
Have you ever seen the dog out before?
Yes.
Did you ever shoot the dog before?
No.
Did you ever say anything to him about the dog before?
No.
But the dog has been out before.
Right.
And it's true, over the last 3 years, you've not had a problem with him. Is that right?
No, I haven't had a problem at all with him now, except for the fact that a couple weeks prior to this, I'd been riding my motocross bike in some trails there in my neighborhood. While bringing the bike back home, I passed his wife on the sidewalk. She was walking down the sidewalk with a stroller, and she hollered something at me like, slow down, and I went on by her and went on home with the bike. And maybe 20, 30 minutes later, the police showed up at my house and said that they had a report saying that I was riding the bike in their yard. I told them at that time that I wasn't riding the bike in anybody's yard. I'd taken it down the trails and back. And so,
Were you going too fast, sir?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't believe so, no. It's allowed.
Why do you think after 3 years of no problem, all of a sudden you would have a problem with them? If I'm a good neighbor and if I'm driving a motorcycle and his wife is walking with a baby in a baby carriage.
Right.
First of all, you don't have a Rottweiler roaming around in a neighborhood where there are babies in baby carriages. Period.
Right.
End of
my
discussion.
dog doesn't roam the neighborhood.
Yes, your dog gets out and has
right.
gotten
He has
out
broken
before.
out of the fence, like all dogs get out of their fence.
No, sir. You say that that's okay. It's not okay.
Well, I don't agree that it's okay, and I do my best.
Okay.
I do my best to keep the dog in the fence.
Your best isn't good enough.
Like I said,
Your best, Mr. White, isn't good enough.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you're driving a motorcycle and you pass a woman and she says to you, hey, slow down, and what you said is you just kept on going.
Well, yes.
No, just a minute. That's what you said.
Yes,
oh,
I
yes,
did.
that's what I did. I just kept on going. That to me is rude. Rude!
And later today,
I agreed to loan him the money to keep him out of jail.
Your Honor, I worked on her computer at least 4 times.
So what? You're hustling me, sir.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Philip White says neighbor Caesar Vargas shot his Rottweiler Bones. Caesar says Bones was threatening his daughter.
If you're going out and you have carpenters in your house that you know are going to be taking wood in and taking wood out, and you're not going to be there all day, you take your dog to a kennel. And you say, I want to make sure my dog doesn't get out because it's dangerous for my dog to be out in the street. It could cause a car accident. So I'm going to take my dog to the kennel for the day because I'm not around to supervise this 150-pound dog. That's what you do.
Well, if the man had shot my dog to defend his family, I would have said that was one thing.
That's what he says he did.
That's what he says he did. And why then he told me that he didn't do it? Why did he deny it?
Because he didn't want to get
when
into
the
an
police asked
argument
him
with
why
you.
he shot the dog, he denied it to them also.
Why do you think he shot your dog?
I think he shot my dog because he, as out of vindication, or maybe possibly shooting the wrong dog. Like I said, my dog's real fat popular. My dog lived on
Oi,
my
Mr.
house.
White, you ain't going to get it, sir. Listen to me. You know why you're not going to get it? You're not going to get it for two reasons. First of all, if you're driving a motorcycle and you pass a woman who's walking with a baby carriage and she says to you, hey, slow down.
Right.
And that's your neighbor. And what you said is you just kept on going.
Well, yes.
No, just a minute. That's what you said.
Yes, I
yes,
did.
that's what I did. I just kept on going. That to me is rude. Rude! Because you stop the motorcycle and you say to your neighbor, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was going too fast. I'm sorry if I frightened you. That's what you say to a neighbor. You don't say, psh.
Well, obviously, my neighbor and I aren't that close, so I mean,
I don't care whether you're close or not.
My neighbor's there. Tell the police.
What difference is it if it's your neighbor or not? If a woman walking with a baby carriage says to you that you're driving too fast, then you stop and you say, I'm sorry. You seem to think everything you do is okay.
No.
Pay the vet bill. It's your responsibility. And go and say, I'm sorry to your dog. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was just frightened for my child.
I don't believe the time that the dog was threatening anybody.
I grabbed my shotgun.
The dog avoids people. He's never attacked or done anything to play with children.
I wasn't aiming. I just shot towards him.
I feel it's very unfair for the dog.
I just hope it doesn't happen again and none of my brothers and sisters get hurt.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Higgs versus Culpepper. Step forward, please.
20-year-old college student Jennifer Higgs is suing former roommate, 18-year-old student Chantel Culpepper, for destroying her personal property. Chantal denies the charges.
Miss Higgs, you and the defendant had been college roommates. Is that right? There were 3 girls in your suite?
No, there were 4.
According to your complaint, you had the defendant and at least one of the other gals moved out of the suite because you believed that one or both of them were involved in stealing some of your property.
Yes.
That's not what the lawsuit is about. The lawsuit is about some property of yours that was later vandalized.
Yes.
And you believe that the defendant was responsible for that. And there were 4 girls in the room.
Well, it was more like an apartment with 3 bedrooms. I had a single bedroom with myself. Chantal shared a room with Jasmine, and then there was another roommate named Michelle, who had her own room.
Now, there came a time when you found some of your items missing and then later found your ATM card missing. And when you subsequently went to check, there was some $1,400 missing.
Yes.
Now, what made you think that the defendant and or this other young lady were involved in taking your credit card?
Because that occurred during February of this year. In January, our other roommate, Michelle, had moved out. So basically, it was myself, Chantal, and Jasmine who were in the apartment.
And you made a report of that?
Yes.
To whom?
To the campus police.
What happened as a result of that?
The bank took a while to get back to the detective, and they only keep the video for about a month. And by the time the bank got back to the detective, the tape was already erased.
Well, since there was really no proof that they had taken your credit card, tell me on what authority you believe they were in fact evicted from the apartment.
Well, basically we weren't getting along. Other things became stolen. Shower products were being used. My food was constantly being eaten.
Okay. So they left. Now, what kind of damage was done to your things in the apartment?
The new handle was broken off of my bedroom door. It had been locked when I left. All the wires to the electrical things in my room were cut, like my TV, my PlayStation, my clock radio. Yes, it was actually cut.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Higgs says former college roommate Chantal Culpepper vandalized her property by cutting the cords to her electronic equipment.
When had the girls been evicted from the apartment?
Earlier that day, Chantal was helping Jasmine move her things out, but Chantal's stuff was still in the apartment when they left.
Was the front door to the apartment, was that locked when you came home?
Yes.
Other than the key that you had and that Chantal had and that Jasmine had, did anyone else have a key to your apartment other than management?
No.
Do you have any documentation for me, photographs or anything else?
Yes, I do have
I'd like to
photographs
see it, please.
Of the actual night. And I also have police reports.
See the photographs first. Okay, Ms. Culpepper, now I'll hear you.
All right. First of all,
We was friends, we was cool, we threw her a birthday party, you know, went out, hung out, everything. We didn't find out about the credit card until housing told us that Jennifer had been going about writing down reports and everything, and we thinking that we was cool, you know what I'm saying? We were just friends.
Let's get to the day that her property came up vandalized.
We wasn't under the impression that her property was vandalized because we had moved, Jasmine had helped me move out later on that night because we was already being kicked out of that apartment due to her saying that we was getting, what was it?